of the tests, all of the land had to go through many, many, many tests to determine, and it's still not done. In September, we will get solid costs from subcontractors. Our builder, Noland, will have engineers, electrical engineers and plumbers and those things, now that we have all the information. We have all the information now. It's all completed from Landmark Engineering. We are almost done paying them so that we don't have to pay them anymore. Now that most all the engineering is complete, the actual subcontractors will give us a real solid price. It would be pointless for me to throw out estimates because there's no solid cost. You know of some of the ideas of the past. I'm not going to throw them up any again because there's no point in doing that. When we have solid costs, we'll know exactly the amount of money that we'll need to raise to be able to pull the loan on this building. I want you to pray specifically as we close here tonight for a couple of things. One specifically. When we find out, I hope that I'm going to be able to articulate this, when we find out the leadership, the hard costs, the price tag, the real quotes are before us, we're going to have to make a decision to recommend to the congregation, and you're going to have to vote on it. And that decision is going to be this: what level of building do we want to build? Do we want to build a building that is partially completed so that we can get in there quicker? Or do we want to wait and have all of the money that we need to draw the loan and build a turnkey or a finished building? Now, everybody would want to have a finished building, except some men in here, they're really excited about the possibility of putting some sweat equity into this building and doing some walls and things like that. I want to ask you as a congregation specifically to pray that the leadership would have the wisdom to know at what level we should build this building. Let me give you, for instance, a real-time example. We had a lighting meeting this past week, Jack, where we came and we looked at the lighting plan of what would be in the parking lot, the lights, where they would go, and those kind of things. When we came, we saw that it was a minimal plan, and what had been priced out to us was basically just lights around our building, and not in the parking lot on the islands. We began placing those because we know that people need to get into their cars and we have evening services. And we placed 8 of those, just 8 poles. And placing 8 poles drove up the price $40,000. Okay? But you got to have light. Now, what I'm saying to you is pray that we will have the wisdom of how minimal or how complete we should attempt to build this building. This is a big prayer request. Of course, pray for money and pray that you would be a part of that. What now? Fear not. Give in faith and wait on the Lord. Do not fret, people. Let's go forward and trust the Lord. I want to end by a couple of giving strategies. We have just a couple of minutes and we'll do that, what is it called? Parking lot picnic thing? Yes. All right. It's Christian tailgating is what it really is. All right? I want to discuss just really quickly some giving strategies, review, and then a couple of factors that ideas that have been given to us. We have collected most of our money for this building just regular offering commitments. That is people that are just giving a few dollars over the regular tithe toward the building. That is the most consistent way for you to have an impact on this building. Set aside whatever it is for the Lord, but each time that you give your tithe, you give a little bit of a building offering. That's great. Several years ago, we did this twice in these years. We had a commitment card where people said, I will give $25, whatever, $100, whatever, over my tithe each time I give my tithe to go to the building fund. We've not done that card. Many of you have been new to our church since we did that. Don't wait for a commitment card. Just say, I'm going to give this amount of money towards the building. This is going to be our building for our family, for the glory of God. I'm going to do that. We've also had quarterly offerings where, once a quarter, we take a big offering, and those have done very well. The other thing we've tried to encourage is memorial gifts. The Wall of Honor is up. We've encouraged you to be able to remember someone who's passed away that you love greatly, or someone that is living that you want to give an honor for, and you give their $500 blocks, and you give and you can honor somebody that you love and can be remembered and helped the building, of course. We've also done surplus tithes, everything that is over the tithes that we can push into the building fund. Our treasurer, Fran, at intervals pushes money into the building fund. In fact, I was so excited I had signed a $40,000 transfer from just a couple weeks ago from our regular tithes and offerings into our building fund. Except then we got a bill from our site engineer, and we had to pull the brake on that because we had to pay the bill. That's what's one thing we do. I got a call maybe a month and a half ago now of one of you members, I'm not going to look at you, that said, Pastor, because of the economy and things like that, people don't maybe have so much cash in their hand, but they may be willing at this point in time to be able to donate stock, some of their own personal portfolio, to the building fund. Is that possible? And so we checked into it. We have a financial man that works with our pastors in their retirement. And I asked, he's an Edward Jones guy, and I asked if this is possible. He says, yes, surely, it happens all the time. And if your congregation would like to give a certain amount of their personal stock, then the transfer is very simple, and this is something they could do for the building fund. I put it out there as an idea, no arm twisting. I put it out as an idea, something that you may be able to do that would help greatly. The last thing I hope that nobody will feel weird about, and I prayed about whether to bring this up, and there were just too many encouragements not to bring it up, and so I bring it up before you. It's possible for you and for me to leave a benefactor gift for our building fund or for our church. Jim Lilly was a missions director that had our missions conference several years ago, and he talked to me at that time with the possibility of what he does. One of the things he does as a financial guy for BIMI is come into churches, help them work on personal finances among the people's personal finances, and he encourages them to remember their church when they pass away. Not to forget their own children and their own grandchildren, but also to remember their church. I talked with Dave Gibbs. He's from CLA. Some of you know Dave Gibbs. And he also, we were talking about a law matter. He began talking to me about the possibility, not me to him, but a possibility of coming into the church and holding a seminar and encouraging personal responsibility and remembering the church when you pass away. Probably the kicker was Richard Harper this week, an evangelist who shared with me this story, and I checked him out. I certainly don't recommend Liberty University, but let me tell you the story. When Jerry Falwell died, he did something totally on his own. He took out a life insurance policy and left Thomas Road Baptist Church and Lighthouse, Thomas Road Baptist Church and Liberty University as the benefactors of his life insurance, of that life insurance policy. I'm sure he covered his own children. At that time, Liberty University was $27 million in debt. Now, Jerry Falwell just died, okay, not just a year or two ago. They were $27 million in debt. His life insurance policy was for $34 million, and he totally paid off what he could never do in his own lifetime as a pastor of Thomas Road Baptist Church or as whatever he was, chancellor of Liberty University. He did upon his passing away. That was a very noble thing. I throw it out to you just to say this. The Lord only knows our lives, but what we could maybe never do in our lifetime, what we would want to do for our church, we possibly could do in our passing away. And I'm not going to be weird about it. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea for you. All right? As we come to a conclusion, I'm going to take about 10 minutes of open questions about the building. It can be about anything. It can be about plumbing. It can be about electrical, whatever. Anything that you want to ask. I'm not going to give solid numbers, okay? I'm not going to give predictions of when we're going to dig ground. But anything you want to ask, let's ask tonight. Yes? We can try to remember to do that. You mean as an open congregation discussion? Yes, we can try to remember to do that. Guys on the building team, mark that down, okay? We can. That is a hard balance decision because waiting for a turnkey may mean waiting a year, 2 years, whatever. Okay? Somebody else, good question. Great question.